Cordyceps is being used as a add-on therapy to cure cancer. Cordyceps and other mushrooms are sold for lakh and a half. More than 100,000 published articles and studies have been done.
पता कैसे नहीं यार लोगों को उसके बारे में? देश की इतनी बड़ी कैटेगरी बनने वाली है. It's like a $4.5 billion market.
Absolutely. Indian society mycophobic है.
बहुत सारे heavy words सुन रहा हूँ. Mycology क्या है?
Mycology
बहुत बड़ा एक misconception है यार, which was around mushrooms being used for psychedelic purposes.
जब मैं भी ये शुरू कर रहा था, when we started, lot of people looked at me, mushroom नशे वाली चीज है, क्या वाली चीज है? People were not aware.
How did you get into this business?
A family member was diagnosed, unfortunately, with cancer. At that time, mushrooms were being explored to be used in the US.
एक mushroom cultivation unit के लिए पैसा कितना लग सकता है अगर कोई करना चाहता है तो?
CR. Cordyceps, very good for immunomodulating effects.
Immunomodulating.
It means that if
The mushroom that you are growing, you cannot eat it.
you cannot eat it.
क्या होएगा खा लेंगे तो? सेटअप को कैसे ग्रो किया और सेटअप में लगता क्या है?
पहले तो I had a small autoclave, एक sterilization clay चाहिए होता है, एक equipment, and there's a laminar airflow that you set
थोड़ा
up.
simple एक बारी words में. What do you think about marijuana legalization? Can it happen with mushrooms, even like psychedelics also?
I sure hope so.
You were mentioning about how to also identify.
Brilliant question. I'd like to show this to you.
Okay.
So, Cordyceps extract.
थोड़ा strong lethal dose बनाते हैं. Thank you, Akshay, for doing this.
Thank you, Bharat, for having me over.
Akshay, so we met, I think, about 6-7 months back, and उससे पहले हम connect किए थे 1 साल पहले जब हम we at Rage were developing some products. So उस time पे I started using the mushroom tinctures that you had sent over, and I found them to be if I can say, maybe life changing also, because they were able to do things like in terms of energy, cognitive endurance, etc., which other ingredients have not been able to. और मैंने फिर आसपास बहुत लोगों से पूछा, बात करी कि यार do you know कि ऐसी कोई चीज है? Almost all of them, 100% have said that they don't know. तो मेरा और it and you being here fits very well into the entire theme of major agers, which is कि यार हम वो conversations करें जिनमें there is a lot for the audience to learn, but also यार कुछ ऐसा नया जो इंडिया को represent भी करे global scale पे, and you're already doing that. तो यार सबसे पहले हम बहुत basics के साथ शुरू करेंगे. And I want to personally understand, how did you get into this business? And है क्या धंधा?
Sure. Thank you. It feels so good when I get a positive feedback like this, that it really helped, and this is what we are, मतलब यही हमारा aim है. And I started this about 4-5 years back when I first got to know about mushrooms. In the family, there was a family member was diagnosed, unfortunately, with cancer. Everything is fine now. I'll tell you the story. That's why I believe in so much in it.
Okay.
And doctors, she was in treatment in the US. डॉक्टर्स ने रेकमेंड करा आप ना कीमो के साथ साथ एक एड ऑन थेरेपी वो लोग एक्सप्लोर कर रहे थे टू गिव अदर मशरूम्स टू देम कि जिससे इम्यूनिटी बिल्डअप हो, क्योंकि इन कीमो अधिकतर आपकी इम्यूनिटी काफ़ी इफेक्ट हो जाती है. यू आर ससेप्टेबल टू अदर डिजीजेस, यू हैव फटीग, chronic fatigue coming in, setting in, and so how to boost that. At that time, mushrooms were being explored to be used in the US. This was already being done in Japan and in China since 80s. So it reached the US quite late. And they reached out to us to source this mushroom called Cordyceps, which is Cordyceps sinensis. हिंदी में इसको कीड़ा जड़ी बोलते हैं क्योंकि ये कीड़े पे उगता है. And it's found at the very high altitudes in the Tibetan plateaus area and very high Uttarakhand ranges as well. So we tried to source it for them. And we sent it across, and everything was fine. So that's what gave me belief कि यार ये तो magical है. When we gave it She started feeling a lot better. Recovery was very good. So, it really intrigued me, and it was quite expensive. And I was like, "ये क्या चीज़ है? Nobody's heard of it." Only, when you go to the hills at the upper regions, people are aware of it, the locals, and they don't really share the knowledge as much. But it was very commonly used in traditional Chinese medicine and in Japan and in Korea as well, both topically as a cosmetic ingredient as well as taking it nutraceutically or for health benefits. That really intrigued me. Then I started doing a lot more research. The only thing was, for example, I then realized there's something called normal mushrooms. एक तो रहते हैं हमारे जो हम खाते हैं. Those are the culinary mushrooms. Your button, oyster, shiitake, maitake. These are very normal mushrooms which people take if you're taking some Asian cuisine and everything, which also have a whole host of benefits. But then there are very specific functional mushrooms as a category, which includes cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi. Shiitake is a crossover, also comes in the functional mushroom category. And you have turkey tail and a few others. They are very, very potent mushrooms and have been being used since millennia now in Asian cultures. And even in our Vedas, they are mentioned, by the way. So
अच्छा.
now we're trying to get back to our roots. And so after researching a lot about it, I saw that एक fungus same cordyceps आप indoor भी grow कर सकते हैं, and that also not on insects. You essentially don't need that. We can do it on some other
फंगस समझ नहीं आया मुझे पार्ट. फंगस क्या एग्जैक्टली?
so the cordyceps fungus,
फंगस होता क्या है?
fungus is a separate. It's not a plant. Fungus
अच्छा.
is not an animal. So you have like the animal kingdom and you have the plant kingdom. Fungi have their own kingdom. It's called the fungi kingdom.
अच्छा.
And fungi, as sense, are organisms which are far more simpler than plants or animals per se.
याद आ रहा है, कुछ कुछ
And
पढ़ा था बचपन में.
yeah, and so that's why they're so good. So they're easier to break down in our body. They're not so complex as organisms as plants are. So for the body also, that's why they're better. And there are certain compounds found in
Hmm.
fungi or mushroom. Mushroom fungi is the same thing. Are just available there. They're not found anywhere else. They're not found in herbs. They're not found in plants. So mushrooms are the only source of it. And we've still not uh, deep dived into the mushroom usage
The
in
fungi
India,
world.
fungi in India. For us, it's still ki mushroom hai, fungi hai, mujhe nahi khana. Whereas, in fact, if you are allergic to mushrooms, you should not. But if you are not, there's something for everybody in functional mushrooms. From culinary perspective, from the health perspective, from cosmetic perspective, there's something for everybody when it comes to mushrooms.
बट यू सेड कि लोग बोलते हैं कि मुझे मशरूम नहीं खाना, ऐसा क्यों है?
सोसाइटी इंडियन सोसाइटी माइकोफोबिक है. या फोबिया है थोड़ा सा मशरूम्स को लेकर.
बट कुछ तो रीजन होएगा उसका.
लोगों को जानकारी नहीं है.
अच्छा.
मेन चीज़ है आपको जानकारी नहीं है कि कौन सा मशरूम खाना होता है, कौन सा मशरूम नहीं खाना होता है, डिश में बनाना है, किस किस प्रकार की हम डिशें बना पाएँ उसके से
एलर्जीज ज्यादा हो सकती है
एलर्जी
उससे.
हो सकती है. तो दैट इज़ द
अगर सही
रीज़न.
चीज नहीं पता, अगर आपको क्या खानी है फंगाई वर्ल्ड में,
फंगाई वर्ल्ड में
तो इट कैन बी मोर हार्मफुल देन गुड टू यू,
It
देन डू
can
गुड टू यू.
it can be harmful as well. There are certain harmful fungi also. And if you go to the forest, pick out something and you're not aware कि क्या है, आपने
टॉक्सिक भी हो
डाल दिया,
सकती है.
टॉक्सिक भी हो सकता है.
गॉट इट.
तो जानकारी की कमी है.
ओके.
So that is one of the main reasons. But now slowly we've seen a huge change coming in the Indian consumer, which is also global after COVID. There was a tectonic shift in everybody's mindset, and it was a global shift. Everybody wanted to go for preventive medicine.
Yeah.
अब paracetamol नहीं लेना है. Now they wanted to take something to prevent the fever from coming on.
So basically cordyceps, lion's mane and ganoderma.
Ganoderma.
तो या ऋषि, इन तीनों के पर्पसेस क्या हैं, लोग क्यों ले सकते हैं इनको?
Sure. So they are beautiful, all three. So all have their own typical areas. Cordyceps, very good for energy, endurance, male vitality, your immunomodulating effects. All three have immunomodulating effects. So if you're
Immunomodulating.
so it means that if your immunity is low, it helps it boosting it up. And if you are suffering from a immuno disease where your immunity goes up, it helps it lowering it down.
Wow.
And so all three
So
fall
naturally
in
occurring
naturally
ingredient
occurring.
that can do that is, I
It's
don't know of any other
mind
ingredient that
blowing.
can do that so well.
It's mind blowing. And then you have
Documentation है इस चीज की?
tons of studies are
Tons of
there.
studies have been done.
There are more than
Public literature है वो सारा?
more than 100,000 published articles and studies have been
Wow.
done.
पता कैसे नहीं यार लोगों को उसके बारे में
They're
यार?
slowly getting to know now about it in
ये
the
या फिर
West.
इंडिया में नहीं पता?
इंडिया में अब now people are starting
कोरिया
to
में
know.
मेरे को बहुत सुनने को
Oh,
मिलता है. कोरिया में तो आई थिंक कॉर्डिसेप्स बहुत कॉमन है.
It's common. It's in the department
It's
stores.
everywhere.
It's everywhere. They sell it everywhere.
Wow.
It's part of their routine.
जैसे अपना यहाँ पे अश्वगंधा
Right.
सबको पता है.
सबको.
कर्क्यूमिन सबको पता है यहाँ पे. I think it's also because it's not so native है but not very highly cultivated.
Right.
मतलब बहुत ज्यादा वॉल्यूम में नहीं हो रहा. और कोरिया में या फिर जापान में या फिर चाइना में वो बहुत ही लोकलाइज्ड इंग्रेडिएंट हो गया है.
Availability है
जैसे
वहाँ पे.
हमारे यहाँ पे अश्वगंधा है which we are exporting to the world now.
Right.
Is that the reason you think?
I believe so. That can be one of the main factors. In fact,
जितना यहाँ उगेगा उतना ज्यादा नॉलेज भी आएगी.
Knowledge
Because
आएगी.
क्योंकि import करने में there's always this doubt.
Right.
You getting the right stuff or not. उसके हेल्थ बेनिफिट्स हैं कि नहीं. और obviously expensive भी हो जाता है जितना import करोगे.
There are studies which show that cordyceps is being used as a add-on therapy to cure cancer. Oxford University's completed its clinical phase 1 trials where they did on treatment of cancer and fantastic results. They started clinical 2 trials as well. Similar studies have happened in Japan and in other countries as well. Then you have lion's mane. Lion's mane is a beauty. It helps. It's one of the only naturally occurring things which helps actually in brain development. It's got something like nerve growth factor. It helps in your nerve regeneration of your brain. It's that, and it's cognition, concentration. All these benefits comes when lion's mane. It's mind blowing. A naturally occurring substance can help you do that.
Wow.
And then you have reishi. Reishi is very good for relaxation, calming down, trying to go to sleep, helps with immunity. It's a game changer for people who are got that anxiety, anxiousness, or sleep deprivation. It really helps people with all these problems as well. So reishi is known as the queen of the mushrooms, and it's a beauty mushroom to look at as well.
What do you think? What specifically for men? What all benefits cordyceps can do? I think cordyceps is one of the most important
Right.
ones.
So cordyceps is in the Chinese literature. It's called the chi tonic.
Chi tonic.
Yeah. So it works on your immunity, of course. It gives the energy and it works at a cellular level. And it is got an affinity for 3 main areas, organs in the body: the adrenals, the kidneys, and the lungs. And the adrenals and the kidneys are the source of everything, according to the Chinese. So your energy, endurance, your male vitality all stems from here. And it really impacts these organs and helps boost their so that is where cordyceps comes in. So it helps you boost your energy, whether it's on the track or it's in the bed. So your muscle recovery, fatigue recovery, endurance, energy, higher VO2
Testosterone levels
testosterone
yeah.
levels, you feel good, your oxygen levels shoot up. And so that's where the impact comes in right there. That is specifically for males, but there are now umpteen number of studies also focusing vitality for women as well. And cordyceps is playing a pivotal role in all those studies as well.
But typically इसका efficacy kicking up करता है. अगर मैं cordyceps लेता हूँ तो at what point would my epoch बोल सकते हो? At what point would it peak?
So your rationality for taking functional mushrooms should be for a betterment of life, right? That's why a consumer would go pick it up. मेरे ये लेकर मुझे अच्छा लगेगा. And if you're doing that in your mindset, you must keep it for at least a 90-day period, because you're looking at a physiological change
So
coming
it's
into
not
your
like
body.
a magic
It's
pill.
not like a magic
Very
pill.
important.
And you're
क्या
working
मैंने
at a
आज खाई
cellular
तो मतलब
structure.
मेरी आज within 30
Nahi,
minutes I'll start feeling like I'm so energetic. वो सब नहीं
no.
होएगा. So it's a
Gradual physiological change at a cellular level that happens. So give it time, give it about, 70, 80, 90 days. And it's very experiential. That's what I keep on telling everybody. The difference between this and normal supplements is, once you take this, you feel it.
थोड़ा सिंपल
छो-
एक बारी वर्ड्स में समझना
uh,
चाहता हूँ मैं, बिकॉज आई एम ट्राइंग टू ब्रेक इट डाउन
आप
इन माय ओन हेड. अगर मेरे को नहीं समझ आ रहा, आई एम श्योर ऑडियंस को भी मुश्किल होगी.
श्योर, अंडरस्टूड. सो छोटा सा सेटअप लगाया बेसमेंट में, ट्राई टू ग्रो इट इन अंडर लाइट्स.
सीड्स आती हैं, क्या होता है, कैसे ग्रो कर सकते हैं मशरूम?
इसमें हम कल्चर इस्तेमाल करते हैं, लिक्विड कल्चर.
लिक्विड कल्चर.
सो कल्चर, इसमें प्लेट में एक कल्चर रहता है. द कल्चर वी टेक इट आउट इनटू मीडिया. आप एक सोल्यूशन, इज अ सोल्यूशन, उसमें हम डालते हैं, उसको ग्रो करते हैं. फिर हम रहते हैं ब्राउन राइस एंड सम अदर मीडिया, एंड फिर हम उसको, आप ये सीड उसके अंदर डाल देते हैं. सीड है लिक्विड फॉर्मेट में.
ओके.
एंड फिर वो ग्रो करता है.
ओके.
एंड उसके लिए आपको 3 आपको वेरिएबल्स चाहिए होते हैं अपना: ह्यूमिडिटी, लाइट एंड टेम्परेचर. सो इट वाज अ वेरी स्मॉल वन रूम
तो ये आपने
सेटअप.
बेसिकली जो बाहर होना चाहिए था अपने अपने बेसमेंट में किया, बट जो 3 वेरिएबल्स थे उसको मेंटेन किया.
मेंटेन कर
हाइड्रोपोनिक फार्मिंग हो गई.
तो essentially ये मतलब it's very similar to hydroponic farming, but इसमें आप we don't have to use water per se regularly. So that is one main difference.
लाइट यूज होती है अच्छे से.
Light and humidity
ह्यूमिडिटी.
control is essential.
ह्यूमिडिटी कैसे कंट्रोल करते हो?
Humidifiers
ह्यूमिडिफायर से.
are there. And so from there, my next step was to set up a bigger facility.
तो ये जो उगा रहे थे, ये अपने लिए उगा रहे थे कि बेचने के लिए उगा रहे थे?
ये अपने लिए,
अपने लिए
ट्राई करने के
try
लिए,
करने के
नॉट फॉर, अभी बेचने का शुरुआत नहीं हुई थी. आई नॉट इवन थॉट
Correct.
अबाउट इट.
Correct.
Growing a few jars that I did, to growing a few 10,000 or above jars, thousands of jars, was a very big challenge. So our
Yeah.
first place was about 3,500 square feet, in which we had made a area for preparation and area for growing and mass storage के लिए. So where we started developing our team, got a few PhDs on board, got a few microbiologists, people from life sciences fields, and started growing it in a small scale. फिर हम उस समय उगा रहे थे सिर्फ मशरूम. हमने अभी तक एक्सट्रैक्शन पे आए नहीं थे. हम
अच्छा.
सिर्फ मशरूम ही उगा रहे थे, जो फ्रूटिंग बॉडी जिसको बोलते हैं.
Okay.
But then we realized that it's like iron ore or steel, right? Fruiting body आप खा नहीं सकते. It's like iron ore. Till the time it doesn't go under some kind of value addition and to make it steel, the value will not come out. So our steel was the extract, essentially.
Yeah, but you're saying the mushroom that you're growing, you cannot eat it.
You cannot eat it.
You cannot eat it directly.
You cannot eat
क्या
it.
होएगा खा लेंगे तो?
Effect नहीं करेगा.
Effect नहीं करेगा, but it cannot, like it can also be harmful.
It will not be detrimental or harmful any
Okay.
manner, but it will not have the desired
but
effect.
अपना खाने में पका के नहीं खा सकते उनको.
मतलब advisable नहीं है. It's
Advisable
better
नहीं है.
if you are taking it for a specific purpose to take it.
तो उसको
as an
extract में करना, उसको somehow to make it more soluble in your body.
Right.
To get it absorbed in your body, you need to make it either like an extract, like a liquid form में या powder form में.
So it's about bioavailability. How much you take and how much gets available for the body. To increase that, the extract form is better. You would see most of the plant, the herbal plants and all are also an extract format, essentially. It's like an ashwagandha extract or a curcumin extract. Similarly, we also had to get into the extraction bit of it. That was our next step. So we did the R&D at that small facility, right, to develop our protocols out there. And then from there, we started getting a few orders for our fruiting bodies as well. Few were domestic orders, few were international orders.
अच्छा, ये कैसे हुआ फिर यार? ये how did people get to know कि कोई उगा रहा है?
LinkedIn Sales Navigator account.
LinkedIn Sales Navigator.
I'm all the time on it. That's
Wow.
it.
So you're selling on LinkedIn?
Just through LinkedIn.
Just through LinkedIn.
Just through all my contacts, if I see something, somebody is doing something in a similar field, write to them, reach out to them,
Yeah.
speak to them, tell them what we are doing.
Sweet.
And
Very nice.
it's essentially through LinkedIn. And
बहुत बड़ा एक misconception है यार, which you also cleared for me, Akshay, when I first started taking them from you, which was around a lot of mushrooms being used for psychedelic purposes,
Right.
for intoxication. Common conception ये है, misconception ये है कि it is being used for, for getting high.
Right.
मतलब बहुत सारे यूएस सीरीज देखते हैं लोग और उसमें लोग मशरूम वहाँ पे मशरूम फार्म्स में जाते हैं वहाँ पे एंड पीपल जस्ट जनरली थिंक यार ये तो साइकेडेलिक्स की तरह यूज होता है
Right.
उसके अराउंड क्या थॉट प्रोसेस है हाउ डू वी ब्रेक दैट थिंकिंग
So you're absolutely right. When जब मैं भी ये शुरू कर रहा था, when we started, lot of people looked at me, mushroom? क्या मतलब नशे वाली चीज़ है, क्या वाली चीज़ है? People were not aware. Again, it comes down to awareness and education that we have to, uh, develop that system where people are getting to know about mushrooms and their benefits. That it's not only just to get high, or it's not. There are different mushrooms that get you high. There are different mushrooms that provide you functional benefits. There are different mushrooms which you can just eat as a culinary dish or something. People, and there are some who are toxic.
बट हाउ डूज वन सो साइकेडेलिक्स बना कैसे ये इट्स सो देयर इज सम ट्रूथ टू
Yes,
दिस
no,
राइट
no. So they are psychedelic mushrooms, and they're gaining a lot of prominence for medical treatment now in the US. Australia, a few states have already legalized it. In the US, they're now in advanced legislative states discussions to legalize it in a few states. It's so they do cause hallucinations, and people again are taking it for either recreation to get high, or they're taking it for again medicinal use as well.
मेडिसिनल यूज क्या है उस मशरूम्स का
So it helps with depression.
ओके
It helps with people with end of life diseases, and
टर्मिनल
Alzheimer,
इलनेसेस
terminal illnesses, to help them through that patch. In micro doses and in controlled doses, they're given by health practitioners to ease their transition, essentially. So Johns Hopkins has done a huge research study on it. They're one of the leading universities worldwide to spearhead the research on this, because something was required. I mean, let's not taboo something just because it gets you high. And because if you
of course, yeah.
and if you're taking it under controlled supervision and with
Yeah.
qualified practitioners, and it does help improving life of terminally ill people, we should definitely give it a try.
Yeah.
And it's naturally occurring as well.
What do you think, Akshay, of it's very close to what you do, but not exactly what you do. And don't mind me if I
Mhm.
ask you this question, but what do you think about marijuana legalization? In the West, it's become like, uh, people who go there and they want to,
Right.
consume marijuana. It's like buying, chip packet of chips today.
Right.
So what do you think of that? What do you have a take on that? Can it happen with mushrooms, even like psychedelics also?
I sure hope so. Yeah. I sure hope so. In India, you get bhang very easily, but you can't buy marijuana for recreational use, which is surprising.
क्या भांग और marijuana सेम है क्या?
अलग अलग है, बट दोनों से इंटॉक्सिकेशन होता है ना.
दोनों से इंटॉक्सिकेशन होता है. प्लांट भी सेम है क्या?
प्लांट भी सेम है.
प्लांट भी सेम है.
सो दोनों से इंटॉक्सिकेशन
बट उसमें
होता है.
THC लेवल्स का फर्क होता
THC
है.
levels का फ़र्क होता है, but essentially you can get it readily available.
Yeah.
But for recreational use or for medicinal use, main factor can be for medicinal purposes to help out people. People facing certain anxiety disorders or something. Let them have it, right? So which the government has started slowly allowing
Uh,
now. I sincerely hope that we go further in these efforts, and also in terms of psychedelic mushrooms, after obviously giving it under supervision, certain checks and balances should be there. There shouldn't be rampant misuse of such things, which is tendency of it can happen. So the government has to ensure how they can do it, and they're working hard
Yeah, they are
towards
working.
it. They are working.
कुछ चल रहा है? क्या
Definitely.
क्या? Do you have any plan
So
idea?
I mean, a lot of states and the central governments are also trying to see how to legalize it, what framework should be put in order to, curb any misuse or anything, which is one of their main concerns.
Hmm.
So I'm happy for that and
Hmm.
very grateful. So it's
Which
going on.
state government do you think is the most active?
That's difficult to say right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Himachal
Hmm.
government is doing a lot. Uttarakhand also.
Uttarakhand, Himachal, Madhya Pradesh,
हाँ.
lot of work happening.
एक चीज है जो मेरे को इंडिया में कोई नहीं कर रहा
Hmm.
विद द काइंड ऑफ पैशन दैट यू डूइंग. बहुत लोग बिजनेस की तरह सोचते हैं, वो माल लिया, माल बेचा, इधर से उठाया, उधर बेचा. एंड देयर इज दिस गाय हु इज बेसिकली taken this as a passion project because of
Right.
a problem in your own family,
Right.
and then it worked for you, and then you said, "Kya, why not commercialize it? Why not make other people also see the benefits of this product?" And you started
Absolutely.
using it, and then आपने उसको एक प्रोडक्ट को बना भी लिया अपने एक बेसमेंट में, एंड देन यू स्केल्ड इट, एंड देन यू आल्सो फाउंड अ वे कि इसको बेचना कैसे है अब.
Right.
Classic example of a great business.
Thank you
Like
so much.
this is the where the best kind of businesses are born. Personal need, massive market opportunity, first probably the first entrant in this space, in ऐसे वे में. तो
Thank
मुझे एक चीज बहुत अभी इंटरेस्टिंग लग रही है कि यार ये बेसिकली बिजनेस भी बन गया
you. Hmm.
उसके बाद, आफ्टर दिस पैशन प्रोजेक्ट. तो बिजनेस क्या मशरूम्स का, और थोड़ा सा इसमें मैं भी ये भी समझना चाहूंगा नंबर्स के थ्रू कि
Sure.
एक मशरूम प्लांट कल्टीवेशन यूनिट के लिए पैसा कितना लग सकता है अगर कोई करना चाहता है तो.
Uh, it is quite expensive a setup and a venture to do because आपको essentially depending on the location, wherever you grow, you will need to keep it under controlled environment.
ओके.
ऑपरेशनल कॉस्ट है इसमें काफ़ी, कैपिटल कॉस्ट है मशीन्स की।
कितनी होगी महीने की कॉस्ट, केपेक्स, कैपिटल कॉस्ट, अपफ्रंट इन्वेस्टमेंट कितना होएगा, महीने की चलाने की कितनी कॉस्ट होएगी? मान लो 3000 स्क्वायर फीट का कोई कल्टीवेशन यूनिट है.
आपके रेंटल्स हो गए,
हम्म.
योर इलेक्ट्रिक यूटिलिटी कॉस्ट्स विल बी देयर which are little on the steeper side because it's 24 hours air conditioning, 24 hours lighting, and so utility costs are there, your operation costs, your staffing requirements.
हम्म.
We have staff which is all at least uh, MTech or an MCom working people. I mean, we prefer that because they have a sense of what they're dealing
हम्म.
with and they
हम्म.
can, see a problem before it does arise. Having trained staff, and so it's a 3,000 square feet would require your rentals depending on where it is. I'll leave that as an X, but operationally it'll come to about 4-5 lakh rupees a month.
4 लाख रुपीज अ मंथ. और इसमें अपफ्रंट इन्वेस्टमेंट कितना है?
Your should be not less than about a 1.5 cr
1.5 सीआर.
because of the
वन कंजर्वेटिव
wa-
1.5 सीआर में बन जाएगा.
ban jayega because you have to make the entire paneling inside to keep it insulation panels, and
हम्म.
then the machines come.
हम्म.
Machines are your autoclaves and other
हम्म.
growing equipment,
हम्म.
your SS racks. People, we don't want you to use MS because वो
हम्म.
सब मतलब in the humidity it'll get spoiled
हम्म.
and lead to contamination of the product. So you have to use
भाई इंडिया में
SS.
कोई कर रहा है अभी कल्टीवेशन?
Yes, इंडिया में
लोग कर रहे हैं.
कर रहे हैं. इंडिया में there were a lot of these people who got into it
अच्छा.
because they started reading on Google that cordyceps and other mushrooms are sold for a lakh and a half.
Yeah.
People went, did their week-long workshop or those training courses which people were taking out. A lot of people burnt money. They
Yeah.
said कि मैं आ जाऊंगा 500 स्क्वायर फुट में एक कमरा डाल लूंगा, मेरी आमदनी हो जाएगी 2-3 लाख रुपए, and so they went, they paid money for these training programs, 40-50,000 whatever. People who really couldn't afford to and were looking at making an income, and they didn't really get the support.
Yeah.
You really can't do much with growing 5-10 kgs,
ये
right?
बेचना भी तो है ना सबसे बड़ी जो चीज है. आई थिंक 80% ऑफ द वर्क हियर इज टू बी एबल टू फाइंड द राइट पीपल हु कैन
Right.
यूटिलाइज इट.
Absolutely.
आप अगर, क्योंकि इंडिया में द मार्केट इज वेरी स्मॉल, आपको एक्सपोर्ट भी करना पड़ेगा. इंडिया में भी यू हैव टू take time to find the right buyers.
राइट।
But anyways, मेरे को थोड़ा सा और बताओ ना यार कि ये मशरूम्स इज अ वेरी ब्रॉड टर्म. तो जो भी मशरूम्स की सब कैटेगरीज हैं या वैरायटी ऑफ मशरूम्स हैं, एक एक मे बी सारे के बारे में बता के थोड़ा सा उनके यूसेज कैसे होती है,
श्योर।
और एक और चीज थी कि वो ओरिजिनली कहाँ मिलती हैं सारी, मतलब ओरिजिनली कहाँ उगती हैं. आई थिंक थोड़ा सा वो भी कनेक्ट मैं करना चाह रहा हूँ कि ये हम लैब पे तो बना रहे हैं, बट व्हाई इज इट सो रेयर, व्हाई इज इट दैट इट्स सो डिफिकल्ट टू फाइंड.
You have mushrooms which are culinary mushrooms like your shiitake, button, oyster, and then there are these functional mushrooms. जैसे उसमें कॉर्डिसेप्स हम अभी 3 लेते हैं, कॉर्डिसेप्स, लायंस मेन और रेशी, गैनोडर्मा जिसको सेम चीज़ कही जाती है। गैनोडर्मा इज़ द साइंटिफिक नेम एंड कॉर्डिसेप्स आपका grows at very high altitude regions. So the upper Himalayas and the Tibetan plateau area, that's where you'll find the part of China, you'll find cordyceps abundantly. And that is reishi also, you'll find it in dense forests also at cooler temperatures up in the hills. Lion's mane also requires cooler temperatures, so you also find them in that hilly uphill areas, also in the uh, uh, down south where the hills are, Kodaikanal and that area where the forest region is. You find abundance of mushrooms there also. And you have mushrooms, similar mushrooms growing in Europe as well. And we found a lot of species in North America as well. So they are available, and these are the wild foraged mushrooms that are there. The reason for growing them in the lab is to get standardization and fixed production. These mushrooms will grow out seasonally, um, typically over a forest area in specific pockets in the area at the end of every season. So that sounds very fascinating. Go for foraging trips, pick out a few, stay in a tent, have them with your friends. But you can't base a business out of that practice.
एब्सोल्युटली, वो पैशन प्रोजेक्ट
वो
है.
passion project, and they are beautiful when you go
Yeah.
foraging. I've been for these trips. I mean, it's
सबसे ज्यादा मजा कहाँ आया था?
we'd gone towards your Uttarakhand side, much above
Hmm.
there. Me and my chief scientist and a few of our team members, and we stayed there in the tents, went deep inside, found different looking mushrooms. We've cataloged them as well, and took their cultures and everything to develop it. Our cordyceps culture, for in fact, is developed in India. We're the only ones who've got our own Indian culture, and we've registered it on NCBI as well. So we don't.
Government regulations, जैसे you mentioned about going into the forest and taking the culture, government allow करती है?
Government allows
परमिशन लेनी
cordyceps
पड़ती है कोई?
permission sometimes you have to take for foraging, and cordyceps you can't harvest like that. You need permission. It's a regulated uh, product out there, naturally occurring mushroom, so people get these tickets to go and harvest also.
यार एक सो लायंस मेन, कॉर्डिसेप्स
And
एंड
reishi.
गैनोडर्मा एंड रेशी, सो ये 3 वैराइटीज में प्राइसिंग कैसे रहते हैं? बिकॉज मैंने यूजुअली बहुत ज्यादा प्राइस डिफरेंस देखा है. हाउ डू यू सेल इट? किस फॉर्म में यू प्रेफर टू सेल इट?
Right.
एंड व्हाई इज इट सो एक्सपेंसिव? I got to know
Right.
obviously कि running expenses, operating costs बहुत high हैं, investments भी अच्छी खासी हैं, wastage भी बहुत होती होगी. Not everything that you grow can be used, I'm sure. But expensive, बहुत expensive है वो. तो उसको कैसे कम cost की जाए, या फिर generally trying to understand क्या cost है?
Sure. So what we try to do is we are trying to be internationally competitive. It should not cost this high, according to me. It should be for
This high
every.
कितना है?
So typically, your cordyceps extract either in the powder form in kgs would be hovering close to about 15 to about 25,000 bucks, depending on the order quantities.
15 to 25,000 rupees a
Rupees
kg.
kg.
This
Uh,
is like pure extract.
this is pure extract,
Uh,
fruiting body pure extract.
So this has to be used in absolutely like uh, appropriate serving sizes.
So
Like
we've
you
done.
cannot just use a lot of it.
No, you can. So that's the beauty of these. So they don't have toxicity levels, don't come into play at higher dosages. We've done our own cell line studies as well
Acha.
with institutes where we've increased the dosage to 20 times to see if it has any impact on the kidney or on the toxicity levels of the body. It isn't so. It just gets flushed out from your system.
Really?
Without
But
causing
बहुत
any.
मना करते हैं यार. मैंने usually देखा है कि you get like shivers and you become really really
That is
hyper.
if you really take it really high
Like what would be a
quantities.
good?
About 500 mg twice a day for either of the three.
So about a
Is
gram a day is
about a
okay.
gram a day is okay.
Of Cordyceps line means all of
And
these.
all of these, they typically fall under the same.
मिस हो गया हमसे कि किस फॉर्मेट में बेटर है, पाउडर की लिक्विड?
I prefer liquid.
Why is that?
मेरे हिसाब से लिक्विड में कम अडल्ट्रेशन हो सकती है. In powders there can be a lot of adulteration. People, as I mentioned, bulk it up with other fillers.
बट लिक्विड में पानी डाल दो
लिक्विड में आप पानी डाल सकते हो
तो
जरूर.
लिक्विड में तो
But
अडल्ट्रेशन
उसमें
हो सकती है.
अडल्ट्रेशन पानी की सिर्फ लिमिटेड हो सकती है. पानी ही आ सकता है. Out here, you will get some.
Oh, you're saying fillers, binders or
or
something.
something like
अच्छा.
that. इसमें पानी आएगा.
अच्छा, तो मतलब
And,
हार्मफुल नहीं है बट मे बी कुछ करे भी ना, बेनिफिट भी ना हो.
कम effective हो सकता है, but it will not be like something which will be harmful. Out here, you'll have anything filled in and you'll not even get to know. Until and unless you'll go for like hardcore testing of each bottle of product you'll buy. Each test you'll go in for to a lab will cost you more than the bottle you buy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'll probably not end up doing that.
You were mentioning about how to also identify.
Sure. So
तो
yeah.
लिक्विड फॉर्मेट में अगर हम लेते हैं तो क्या आइडेंटिफिकेशन हम यूज कर सकते हैं टू नो दैट दिस इज a good product versus a adulterated product?
Brilliant question. I'd like to show this to you.
Okay.
So, for example, I'll show you. I'll use this bottle.
Yeah.
These two glasses. This is just water, right? So what we see is the solubility of the product. How quickly it dissolves in water. If it takes time, it's probably mixed with certain things.
अच्छा.
And
like we do it for all other products, हाँ, मतलब
Right.
हम भी जब
It's
when we
basic.
do also coffee solubility test,
right.
हम भी ये यूज करते हैं कि how quickly it is able to dissolve, but also the pattern of
Dissolving, correct. How it disperses.
how it disperses in water.
Right. Yeah. So essentially, this is our Cordyceps extract.
थोड़ा strong lethal dose बनाते हैं.
It खुल जाए. This is it.
Okay.
Now, I'll just put this. Like, take a few drops.
This would be how much?
This is what 0.5 ml, 5 drops. Just see it go.
Oh, it dissolves perfectly. It's gone.
It's gone now. Just
Gone.
see it go.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like 100%.
100%. So
Yeah.
this, as soon as you take it,
Yeah.
it affects you from the moment it enters your glands in your mouth. It is available for your body. So it doesn't need to go down to your digestive tract. Then it doesn't need to go through the entire digestive system and then give you the benefits, which typically other herbs and all have to. So this goes in straight from your mouth, your glands. It's being absorbed right now. And this one is typically something which are
somebody else makes.
Some substandard extracts which consumers, what we're trying to tell them how to be careful of. 1, 2, 3.
Doesn't dissolve.
It goes and it's mixed with glycerine. 40-50%
Man,
glycerine.
this
It's
is
like
crazy.
having your chocolate syrup.
But it didn't dissolve.
It doesn't go, man.
वो तो सीधा नीचे बैठ गया जाके.
So it's like this. So proof lies in the pudding. So it's right here. It's simple. See,
anybody
and
can
powders also.
anybody actually can use this technique to also identify any other product, right? जिसमें भी mixing ज़्यादा होती है. Powders में अगर वो disperse नहीं होता and it goes and sits in the bottom immediately, then there's something wrong with that product. Akshay, pharma world, typically the world of medicines,
Right.
They typically don't like. Now it's changing, but they typically don't like naturally occurring active ingredients.
Right.
Typically, जितना chemicals हो उतना profit है pharma का. Naturally occurring substances are expensive
Right.
compared to what they would typically make in their own, you know, manufacturing units. But somehow मैंने मेरी जितनी research है, correct me if I'm wrong, but use of mushrooms is very high in pharma products.
Yes.
वो ऐसा क्यों है? Because वो तो typically doctors are like, या फिर मैं doctors को नहीं target करूंगा, but medicinal world, the
Right.
pharma world is typically like, you know, generic
Right.
salts being sold at very high prices. Naturally occurring substances tend to lower their margins.
Right.
Why is this has a different kind of a path?
It's a great question. So what they do is they try to develop. They initially find an compound, and they try to replicate it via chemical synthesis. In mushrooms, they've been able to, and they're still studying. So it's very nascent stages right now. They've been able to identify various compounds which are present and limited only to mushrooms.
Okay.
So that is one of the main reasons. They're trying to study more effects of these mushrooms. Chemical synthesis of certain mushrooms has happened, has sometimes been effective, sometimes not. Penicillin is fungi based, and it was based out of a mushroom, developed from a mushroom. And you have, like in Cordyceps, we have certain bioactives. One is called cordycepin and adenosine. So people are trying to develop that. Oxford's using them to cure cancer. So they're using just the bioactive. So we do the extraction. Pharma companies take out a step further and do the isolation of. So we'll get a whole host of bioactives in our extract, and then they'll isolate the ones that they want to and make a medicine out of it. So a lot of companies are doing a lot of research on this right now to look at specific bioactives from each mushroom. So that's why there's still a lot of interest from pharma companies as well.
Interesting, Akshay. बहुत मजा आया यार.
Thank
And I
you
think
so
I've
much. I
learned a
loved it.
lot today. And मेरा purpose solve हो गया है. I hope सबको मजा आया. But मेरे को कुछ चीजें बहुत सही समझ आ गई. And I wish that, you know, I think the ending note of this, that it actually, people are able to utilize these naturally occurring ingredients.
Right.
और कहीं ना कहीं गवर्नमेंट सपोर्ट चाहिए और उसको to ensure that it actually goes in the right hands,
Right.
through the right mediums and mechanisms with those checks and balances. अगर वो होता है तो then यार why not?
Why not?
If it helps people, why not? Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
आपका हर एक लाइक और शेयर और सब्सक्राइब हमारी पूरी टीम को मोटिवेट करता है टू कीप क्रिएटिंग दिस कंटेंट. प्लीज सपोर्ट करो, शेयर करो. जितने लोगों तक ये पहुंचाओगे उतना हम सबको मोटिवेशन मिलेगा टू कीप डूइंग दिस. थैंक यू. कम टू मेजर एजेस.